Hello everyone, how's it going? My name is Dewi and this is my brother.
Hi!
And today we're here to talk about Captain America Brave New World. So this is your chance now to leave before we get into any spoilers.
3, 2, 1, pancakes. I don't know why I messed up with the fingers on that one, but anyway.
Okay, so I mean this is just a popcorn.
Yeah, we got it when we went there.
Yeah, to be honest, it actually does look, to be fair, quite nice.
Yeah.
You know, you got the wings that do move up and down and all that stuff.
You can even hide them behind it if you
yeah,
don't
if you
want to
just wanted the actual shield. But no, I think this looks quite nice, to be fair.
Yeah.
Like display worthy.
So, obviously Captain America Brave New World is the 4th Captain America film now.
Yes, who actually sees a different Captain America now. It's no longer Chris Evans.
It's, Falcon.
Yes.
As Captain America after Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where he, actually accepted the role of Captain America.
Yes.
So, I guess we'll just start from the beginning then?
Yeah, so while we talk through about the film, we'll just sort of go over what we thought of each sort of, I guess, act, you could say. So, obviously it starts off with the new Cap actually taking down an organisation.
Yeah, which is the Serpent Society.
Yes.
But before that, we had the bit with Ross becoming president.
Oh yeah, well I didn't know if you wanted to count that speech in, but yeah, I mean, he goes out on speech, he's now president.
Yeah, so that's kind of like an exposition thing to kind of recap everyone on what happened in The Incredible Hulk, where you see Ross going up, he's president now, which obviously means that the president from Secret Invasion that waged war with all the Skrulls had lost the re-election, probably for that exact reason.
Or maybe his term was up, but who knows? But either way, I mean, it doesn't really, it's not really established too much in that. But it's interesting to know it wasn't that technically that long ago since Secret Wars, and Secret Invasion, sorry, and since I don't know how much time has passed between then and now.
It's been about maybe 2 years.
Okay, right, since those events. Okay, and now obviously we've got President Ross.
Yes. So, obviously, then the news you see is talking about it, and they say things that Ross was called the Hulk Hunter, and that he was hunting down Bruce Banner many years ago, who was...
Yeah, you saw a scene of the events of the past where, in just the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk, where you see the Abomination and all that sort of thing, which was cool to look back on that. They didn't see him with a moustache in Harrison Ford's, full out.
Yeah, that was really cool, and that kind of, shows that he was, an emotional, general, which we already knew that he was, but...
Emotional, then, well, by emotional, you do mean he's out,
angry.
Yeah, I was going to say, right, okay.
But
you meant emotional by sympathetic, that's what I thought you meant.
Yeah, because I remember that question that our mum asked when she was watching the Hulk was, why doesn't, Ross get taken down as general if he was responsible for Abomination? Now we know it's because he blamed those events on Samuel Stearns, the leader. And that's why he hasn't been, taken down as general.
Who was Mr. Blue in that Hulk a long time ago.
Yes, which actually has, a clever nod to it that we'll get to.
Yes.
So, obviously, you have that whole exposition, which I really like.
Yeah, I think the setup was good. Setting up, I guess, the sort of tone, because obviously you would see the light switch on and, this, creepy lab, and you can just see, the shadow of his face, and you can see his head. Well, the back of his head is sort of deformed. It's so dark, you're meant to leave him in suspense of what he actually looks like.
And actually, it's interesting to note that obviously Betty still has disowned her father, because obviously at the end of the Hulk movie she basically disowned him.
Yes.
And so she's still, even when her father's president, she's still not trying to affiliate herself with him. But anyway, so yeah, you have the opening bit where Captain America is fighting the Serpent Society, who's led by Giancarlo Esposito's character Sidewinder.
Yeah, Sidewinder, yeah.
Now, obviously, the Serpent Society is a group of snake-themed villains in the comics and Avengers Mightiest Heroes.
Yeah.
But in this, they're basically just a terrorist organization that stole adamantium.
Yes, we'll get into that bit in a bit, because obviously the setup for that is that, they were working for someone, and that someone later on becomes, the leader.
Yeah.
But obviously, they were baited out in that situation. How do you feel about that him being used, this person, Sidewinder, being used by the leader?
Well, I mean, I don't really know much about Sidewinder, so I don't... Oh, the Serpent Society. So I don't know whether Sidewinder is supposed to be really smart or dumb or really calculating or anything. So this is really my first time ever really seeing Sidewinder and the Serpent Society. But obviously I don't think, since he just seems like just some, because he says that he's ex-military in the movie, so he's obviously quite intelligent, but not as intelligent
obviously
as the
he did
leader,
get played.
so.
I was going to say, because he did get played.
So obviously you have that whole like opening, which I really liked. It reminded me of the opening of Winter Soldier and Civil War, when they're taking on like that French guy and Crossbones, respectively.
Oh yeah, because of that fight, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's because this film is supposed to be in the same vein as Winter Soldier, so that's why they have that kind of opening against the Serpent Society. But in the end, Sidewinder obviously escapes, and he says that he's going to get revenge on whoever, like the buyer that played him.
He does do a good role as Sidewinder, to be fair.
Yeah.
So moving on from that.
Yes, so they've taken back the adamantium and they tell Ross that.
Yeah, and then Ross, wants a meeting with him, but obviously, you do get to meet the new Falcon.
Yes, Joaquin Torres, who's actually in like the Falcon gear, but it's all green and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was a cool moment. And I think following that, you had the bit where they're in like the boxing ring thing. Like,
oh yeah, they were training, weren't they?
Yeah.
With the previous Super Soldier from back. It was after Captain America, but it was the one that got imprisoned.
Isaiah Bradley, that was his name.
He was in prison because obviously you heard about that story in Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, where he was like imprisoned and experimented on and stuff for years.
So they were training, and
like they have a bit of banter, Falcon and him.
Yeah,
which I like that dynamic in this movie.
Yeah, I think there was a bit of, banter, because obviously I think that's the difference between the last Captain America. This one has a lot more banter.
Yeah, you can kind of tell that Falcon is a more, I guess, like, relatable sort of Captain America, in the way that he doesn't take his job as seriously as Steve. He has a bit more fun with how he can do certain things in the job. Like, Steve still had fun with it, but obviously since he was a man out of time, he took it far more, like, seriously than Falcon. And you get to see that when obviously Falcon and Joaquin Torres are invited to the meeting about the Celestial Tiamat.
Yeah, because I was going to talk about, I was going to say Harrison Ford, General Ross, President Ross. He's so known for General. I keep calling him General Ross. President Ross. Now he wants to talk about bringing the Avengers back. Yes,
so they have that meeting where they're at the White House. And actually, here's something that someone actually mentioned. How does everyone know that it's a Celestial and that it's this like massive island?
Yeah, they call it Celestial Island.
So how do they know it's called a Celestial? Because I think the most logical answer is that the Asgardians would have told them.
Yeah.
Because obviously they are like space gods, so they would at least know what a Celestial is to an extent.
Possibly, yeah.
But obviously, like, Ross.
They have the meeting. He talks about adamantium, sharing it with the world. Yeah. Obviously, there's a trigger moment where all the people, start firing everything.
Oh yeah, because Isaiah Bradley tries to shoot Ross.
Yeah.
And then everyone just starts like basically trying to kill Ross.
But what the cool thing about that is that you find out that the brainwashing effect happened to them to make them want to kill Ross was quite cool, because I think the idea of doing it from you do find this out later on, it's the leader. And he uses the brainwashing through the flash on the phone, and it's triggered by a certain sound effect. There's a song that gets played, and it's Mr. Blue. Which is funny, because this brings back the whole little loop around to where in the last Incredible Hulk film, his nickname on the computer when he was talking to Banner was Mr. Blue.
And that was a really fun detail that I noticed. That reminded me of Hydra's brainwashing of Bucky.
Yes, it did. We were talking about this in the car, weren't we?
And even kind of like in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the brainwashing that...
Yeah, because they use certain phrases and words on Bucky, like freight train, benign, and all this other type of stuff.
Used by like electric things on the brain.
Yeah, I mean, you saw a chair in that lab and stuff, so you may have done something to them as well as some of the guards, because obviously he does get out later on.
So it does kind of make me think that the leader stole that sort of formula and changed it a bit from Hydra after.
Kind of creepy though, I think, with the music that was playing.
Yeah, but I feel like this is like a theme that like these Captain Americas have. They'll take a classical like song, but they'll put it in a completely different context that makes it creepy. Like how like that scene in Winter Soldier with Nick Fury in the apartment and they're playing like the do 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 as he's like telling Cap about like Hydra taking it all over. So that reminded me of that, and I really like how that's a thing that happens in these Marvel movies.
No, I kind of like that idea. Isaiah Bradley gets imprisoned unjustly because obviously we all know that wouldn't have been him.
Yeah, and it's actually really sad, Isaiah Bradley's story. I mean, his story's always been really sad.
Yeah, it's because he got experimented on and then he was imprisoned for God knows how many years.
But I feel like the actor does a really good job of showing just like how broken.
Oh yeah, to like, you know, how sympathetic you be for him.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
And obviously then establishing that goal of what Falcon, or I guess Cap wants out of this, which is freeing Isaiah Bradley.
Yeah, because you have that meeting with those two, and then after that he goes to Captain America, then goes to the president, and you know
Ross, who's in a bunker.
Yeah, who's in a bunker, and then you know want to talk about getting him freed and stuff. You know it wasn't him, but then it's just interesting. Well, I say interesting. It's a bit weird as well how quickly it's turned from I want you to lead the Avengers and us to work together, and your friend shot me, and now I don't want anything to do with you anymore.
Well, I think what you're meant to obviously think is that Ross, obviously the main theme of this is Ross trying to change and trying to change who he is and redeem himself for all the stuff he's done before. But the movie does still show that underneath all that there is still there's still a little bit of that same angry wartime general that still remains and lingers inside of President Ross. And so that, coupled with the fact that obviously the pills he's taking do have gamma in them, which is making him more angry and stuff, and it's making him trigger.
Yeah, because they really emphasize this a bit. I think throughout the film, he keeps constantly taking those pills, and they all every time, in the meeting, beforehand. I think when he gets off the phone at some point, he always flips out this little pocket thing, and he takes another few more pills, and you're like, okay, this is clearly something to do with Red Hulk at some point.
So I think that with the gamma radiation making him more angry, and the fact that there's still, you see throughout the film that there's still that little bit of that angry military general that hates superheroes inside of him somewhere in there. So those two combined factors, I think, is why he's so quick to snap at people in this movie.
Yeah, that and being under a lot of stress, those two advisors that you had. I mean, every time he was under a lot of stress and pressure, obviously you'd start to get angrier, wouldn't he? And then obviously, he reacted when he slammed his hand down on the table.
Yeah, he broke a part of the table as well. So
speaking of stress, it was actually thinking about it with the presidents as well, because he had the presidents of France and the president of Japan as well.
Yeah, and India as well, because they had that Zoom call basically.
Yeah, basically. But obviously Japan was the worst one for him because they wanted to pull out because of the whole they thought he was playing some kind of game because it was the leader that's been manipulating all these people into going to war with each other. Yeah,
so the leader told Japan that Ross actually hired the Serpent Society to steal Japan's cut of adamantium. And so Japan were willing to go to war with the US over Tema Island. And at the same time, you had obviously Ross sending that Black Widow agent out to go get Captain America.
Is she some kind of known character? I don't know.
I think she's a known character as a mutant, but in this film they changed it so that she was a Black Widow. And yeah, but in this film I think they changed it so that she wasn't a mutant instead of Black Widow agent. But I don't really know how to feel about her because she didn't really do anything.
No, I mean, you're meant to believe at first she's going to be someone to watch out for, but then she turns around and be like, oh no, I want to help you.
Yeah, I really feel like she didn't really serve that big of a purpose in the story. But anyway, so obviously Joaquin Torres and Falcon, I guess mainly just Cap Falcon, he is attacked by Giancarlo Esposito
Yes.
as a Sidewinder.
Yeah, that was a cool fight. When I say cool fight, you know, it was. I think it's little things with the guns, you know, like shooting to the through the coat and all that, and trying to track it through the junkyard and all that.
And like it actually shows it's a bit of a nod to his to Sidewinder's like comic design, because he has like a bit of a yellow collar popping out that he has in his comic design, but that's like a very, very subtle nod. Anyway, so they have like that fight on the street and in the junkyard, and I thought that was a really cool fight because it's mainly hand-to-hand combat.
Yes.
Which is one of my favourite kind of fight styles. And Cap actually defeats him by like just kicking him off a car and straight through like a windshield, which was kind of like sort of brutal. But in the end, Sidewinder is captured, and they managed to trace back the call that the leader had to Sidewinder's phone back to Camp Echo 1, I think it was called, which is a military base that the leader was being held in.
Yes.
So Joaquin Torres and Cap, they go there.
Yeah.
And they end up finding the leader.
Yeah.
And it's there that we find out about his true motivations.
Yeah.
Where he wants revenge on Ross because obviously Ross falsely imprisoned him for all those years. And then he also got the leader to make like US weapons and stuff for him, promising that if he did that, then he'd free him. But obviously he didn't. So now he wants revenge on him.
Yeah.
And he manages to brainwash the guards that were keeping him like hidden away, and he brainwashes them to try and kill Cap.
Yeah, so long story short, he really gets out. He brainwashes the guards using the music to do that he used all the others to try and kill Ross up before. They meet up, we see him for the first time in his look, with the brain coming out. Not fully as big as you'd expect, like in the cartoons or comics. However, maybe it's an earlier development stage. And I guess really trying to keep it realistic as well. Because, you know, I think if you had a big head like that, it'd be kind of hard to like, sort of walk and run
and the
and do all that
CGI
sort of
might
stuff.
look a bit weird, like MODOK did in Ant-Man.
Yeah, wasn't that... It kind of looked a bit like maybe they did some actual moulding or something like that.
Yeah, it did actually kind of look like that.
I don't think that was CGI.
It was like...
The idea behind it, I think, was it looked like it was a slightly bigger head, and, you know, he had a bit of greener skin. Not fully green, but greener skin.
Like a pale
And what
green.
you could see is on the top of the head was like, you know, the actual... The look of a brain at the top, which is what you want to get for the... Because, you know, a big brain.
But it did annoy me where there were at least 3 or 4 instances in this film where he could have said that he is the leader, or
he never did
says
that.
the leader.
In fact, there was one in particular moment when he kills one of Cap's friends, one of the army guys, and he says to him, you know, who are you? You know who I am. I'm the hero. And
that was just like, oh, come on, you could have just said, I'm the leader. Even if, like, someone just said in passing, Stearns is the leader of this operation or something, that would have been enough, just a little nod.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he does all that, and actually, Isaiah Bradley's moved to quarantine because obviously the leader gets some of the guards to kill the assassins.
Yes.
So that was definitely a kind of a brutal scene. But in the end, they end up, like, Cap and Joaquin Torres, they interrogate Sidewinder and, you know, learn about, like, the fact that Sidewinder was actually the one that captured the lead after the events of Hulk, when he was still military.
Interesting, yeah, when he was still military, yeah, so he knew about him and all that kind of business.
Yeah. And that's when you find out that...
Because, I mean, technically, it's never really explained what actually happened to him after the end of that, you know, Hulk movie until now. Because, I mean, the way I looked at it after all this time, he got away, you know, when everyone was unconscious because of the Abomination. 2, you know, he was captured, but just taken to some high facility that you just never hear from him ever again. And 3, well, he dies, but, I mean, he didn't die. I mean, hence why he's in this film as the main, you know, enemy.
So... And then what happens is that, obviously, Sidewinder doesn't die at the end of this film. what happens is
No,
he
you
gets
don't
arrested.
see too much of him. He's pretty much early
Yeah.
on in the film as a setup for the leader and explains some bits and bobs throughout the film. But I think him and himself has been set up for something bigger later on.
When he tells Falcon about like Stearns' motivation, I guess Cap. I keep calling him Falcon because he's been Falcon for so long. I just call him that. So Cap says that he says something about him being like, oh, if you get out, and then Sidewinder's like, oh, it's not if, when I get out. So that's...
Yeah, so it's only a matter of time then before he can...
Yeah, and then he could even be like the villain of a fifth Captain America film.
Which is fine, because, he wasn't shown too much in this, because he wasn't meant to be the main enemy in this.
It was kind of like a
setup
setup for him, really.
Later on. What else have you got? You've got when they're actually, Ross... tries to convince the Japanese to come back in and, let's share the adamantium. They don't want any part of it.
Yeah.
And so then it's a race then to who can get the adamantium on Celestial Island, which is, why...
And you can see at this point, Ross has, like, gone back to how he was in, like, the Hulk films, being, like, this really angry kind of wartime
Yeah,
person.
because, the Japanese are putting a lot of pressure on... Well, to be fair, a lot of the countries are putting pressure on Ross. So, with this pressure added on top of the leader hacking into, like, his comms...
Yeah, because the leader, like, calls Ross and basically tells him, I'm the one behind all of this, but no one's going to believe you because everyone basically thinks
that
they're
out,
either dead or
really
something.
trying to taunt him, and you can see some of this animation of him starting to, Hulk out a little bit.
Yeah, and so Falcon and Cap actually get to Tiamat Island along with Ross, and it's there that Cap actually manages to find out that Ross is dying.
Yes, from a heart attack from back then. That's why he captured the leader and took him away secretly, so you could give him the medicine to basically live long enough.
Yes.
To go for president and all this other type of business.
But because the leader resented Ross for so long and still thought he would let him out.
because he promised him to let him out, but because he didn't, that's when things changed.
Yeah, and he started poisoning the pills with gamma radiation.
Yes.
And then that's why Ross is so angry and why he can now turn into Red Hulk.
Yeah.
So, the leader actually manages to mind control 2 of the pilots on the
With
US
the song,
boats.
It's amazing how much influence he's managed to gather, considering he was in a cell a long time.
Yeah, he's just been controlling it all from basically prison. So he manages to get those 2 pilots to attack Japan, to kind of start that little fight. But Cap ends up taking out the 2 pilots. Well, Cap and Falcon end up taking out the 2
Falcon
pilots.
takes the fall because he got too close to a missile, and he wanted to go save him, but he had to deal with the other Japanese pilot because obviously they still wanted to attack USA and all that. So it was up to him to try and quiet everything down and stop this war from happening. When that happened, he sort of intervened there and stopping Ross from Hulk out because he realized everything was fine.
Yeah, and that kind of stopped the leader's, I guess, first plan, which was to obviously have this war end up turning him into the Red Hulk. But because Cap stopped those jets, it caused both sides, Japan and the USA, to back off.
Yeah.
And thus obviously didn't turn to Red Hulk, which angered the leader.
Yeah, because that's been his entire plan, this whole point, because actually it does come down to the very ending, actually, because he realises now there's only one way to trigger Ross now, and that's by exposing himself.
Yes.
By doing this, he has a speech basically to discuss, how we've managed to make peace to the world, the adamantium will be shared, and as his last power play, the leader,
he
gives away his freedom just to get Ross angry enough to basically expose the truth, because he had recorded conversations of Ross and him about what's happened to him and stuff.
Yeah, when they were over the phone on the plane. And actually, the leader kills quite a lot of people in this film. He kills at least 3... Actually, no, he kills about 5 people.
It was a brutal one where he used a volume on something like that and exploded the guy's heart inside his chest. The army man that was helping Captain America out.
So, because he does kill, he obviously has some of the guards mind controlled to kill themselves. Then he kills those 2 people in the house. So he kills quite a lot of people. So I like that because it shows that he's not messing around.
Yeah. But, you know, he does expose himself. Cap takes him in. Well, the army guys take him
Yeah.
in, whatever. And I do like the leader's sort of way of going about things, because the thing is, he talks about probabilities and the percentages and the logics of there's like an 80% chance that this will happen, or a 99% chance this will happen. And it's all about trying to beat, I guess, the percentages of high probability.
Beat the odds.
Yeah. And so that's why he was surprised when Cap made it to his lab, because he thought by killing the two other criminals in prison, it would have made him turn around and stuff in the car. But it didn't work and surprised him, and he doesn't like surprises. So...
And actually, here's something. When Torres is in the hospital, you get a cameo from Bucky.
Yes.
So...
I was surprised at that one. I thought...
Yeah, because I didn't think Bucky would be in this film.
I thought we were going to get something from Banner, which, by the way, doesn't happen. You don't get anything from Banner at all.
But... I really like that cameo, and how they even say that Bucky is running as like a senator, because obviously he is a senator.
But this is a little bit of setup for Thunderbolts, which will come in about 2 months from now, I think.
But Bucky gives like Cap a pep talk about how he didn't need the super soldier serum, he can solve all this, and then that leads to the leader like handing himself in. But obviously because of that, Ross ends up turning into Red Hulk.
Yeah, I will say this, the actual look of Red Hulk is pretty good.
Yeah, it was really good. It reminded me of, like, Savage Hulk. And I like how they don't hold back with how strong Hulks actually are, because, like, you see Red Hulk just jumping around. Obviously, he's bulletproof, but, like, loads of people in Marvel are bulletproof. But, like, you can see, like, when he's chasing Cap, and he does like a jump and he lands on the ground, and it causes like an earthquake around because just the force of his jump is really cool.
The fight between him and Captain America are good.
Destroys the White House.
Destroys loads of obviously buildings, you know. But his vibranium wings do manage to slice through his skin.
Yeah.
With a bit of a nod, because obviously we know like Wolverine's adamantium claws can go through Hulk's skin. So
Yes.
I guess in this effect, you know, that can do the same thing as well. But with
Though Red
vibranium.
Hulk's skin is weaker than Hulk's.
But he can set things on fire.
Which he does do, because he sets that car on fire and throws it at Cap.
Yeah.
But in the end, obviously, Cap actually manages to absorb the sound that Red Hulk is doing by punching, because obviously vibranium
Because it absorbs it
noise.
enough, yeah.
And he actually stabs Red Hulk like around about where the heart is, and then
No, it's underneath the ribs, I would say.
and then has all that like sound and kinetic energies built up just explode in this massive like explosion that sends the two like flying. I was like, whoa! I really liked that moment. I genuinely thought that would have knocked out Red Hulk, because just the sheer power.
But it didn't. He got up. But
Yeah.
I mean, it in the end, it took Captain America to talk him down, because he lured him to a place where him and Betty, and this is sort of nodded to in the film as you go along.
Yeah.
There's that phone call he has with Betty, Ross does, his daughter, that, you know, when she was a little girl, you know, they used to go on walks to see the cherry blossoms and stuff like that. And obviously the location now that fighting was where all the cherry blossoms were.
Yeah.
So it was sort of like to try and calm him down, like, remember this place, remember who you used to be, you know, trying to, you know, convince her you are a changed man.
And I do like that, because realistically there really was no feasible way that Cap would have actually defeated
That's the
Red
thing.
Hulk
I know
otherwise.
he wouldn't have been able to beat Red Hulk straight up in a fight, because he just, you know, he's just ballistic.
So we just managed to
Which is
calm
nice, actually,
down.
considering that the normal Green Hulk is nowhere near like that anymore.
Yes, and
I
that's
don't
why-
know if we will ever get that anymore.
I really hope we do, because I think it would be a missed opportunity from Marvel if they didn't have Red Hulk and Hulk fight in some capacity. Even though the way this film ends, Ross is like redeemed, basically, because
He's, oh god, yeah, well this is the thing, isn't it? He's sort of not, like, you know, he is in the raft now, and
yeah, he hands himself in, he takes
he
accountability.
does take accountability, you know, and Betty Ross does make an appearance at the very end.
Yeah, to like
Talk to him.
and like establish that reconnection. And it actually makes the cameos in this movie actually mean something, instead of just being thrown in for the sake of it, which is like a change.
It's just I don't know. I think maybe we could have had a bit more of a fight with more of the Red Hulk. I know if maybe some other people could have pitched in and to make even the odds against him. I know he's too strong, but that's what I mean is if you added like someone else in, like if Falcon was still there, so just I don't know. You needed more there to help win the fight. I guess if you were going to go against Red Hulk. But, it ended off there. He's in prison now. I don't know who, they never talked about who the next president is. I think.
No, but I have my theory that it'll be Senator Kenzie and that he'll use, because obviously Hugh Jackman's Wolverine is said to be like the main Wolverine of the MCU, so they can't use adamantium for Weapon X. But I did hear from like a theory that they could use adamantium for Sentinels, and if that's the case, then they could have Kenzie, who was obviously like that guy who hated mutants, become president.
They don't have Sentinels yet, because the way that they make Sentinels is only if there's a threat like mutants around.
Well, yeah, but like in the future, when mutants are brought in, and then they can
that means X-Men and all that must be coming in pretty sooner than we thought, because if Senator Kenzie will then become, President Kenzie, if that's what you're really thinking, then that means the whole, like, mutant stuff must be coming in pretty damn soon.
I mean, I think it will, because the X-Men are meant to be in things like Doomsday and Secret Wars, because that's when all
we
the
still got Fantastic Four yet to be introduced, and the whole, like, Doomsday and Secret Wars yet to go through. And you're already talking about Senator Kenzie. The thing is, right, don't get me wrong, I am an X-Men. If I had a choice between Avengers and X-Men or Fantastic Four, I'm an X-Men person. I'd rather be an X-Men than anyone else. So, but I just think it's with everything that's going on at the moment, I just think it's a bit maybe too early yet. I mean, I don't want them to be too long in it, obviously, but I just don't want them to get rushed. I want it to be good when they're brought in. I just think if they bring them in now, it's just a cluster.
It's just going to be too crowded.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to do so much since obviously they've replaced Kang so late on.
Plus the whole... Well, actually, that comes to the end credit scene, doesn't it? Actually, we talked about this with Captain America visiting Leader, who's in the same raft with Ross.
And the leader's talking about, oh, you think this is the only Earth out there? I've seen it in the probabilities. I've seen that something's coming. Just wait until they come. And
and I think when that maybe have shot, we was talking about this, was the shot maybe when Kang was still a thing?
Yeah.
But now we're thinking maybe it's something to do with Secret Wars, because maybe because at the end of the day, he's been around, he's seen the events of the world. Like Spider-Man, where, you've had all these ripples and tears of the multiverses coming through. Yeah, people forgot who Spider-Man is. It doesn't mean they don't remember what actually happened with all the multiversal stuff.
Like they say No Way Home, it's been like a few weeks since like the incident at the Statue of Liberty, so people do remember there was a fight there.
Yeah. Plus Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, there's probably events that happened there, like fights on the street and stuff. And if he's as smart as he is, he's probably taking it from the perspective of us, the audience, and he knows what's coming, that there's going to be a multiversal problem, and that's why Secret Wars comes in. And when he uses the word, like, there are other worlds, but not worlds in an alien world, but our same, like, world, maybe. Something like that, possibly.
So I feel like for the MCU, the leader will be the one that tells everyone about the incursions and about Doctor Doom, and will be the person to kind of get them all to fight Doom and stuff. But, so yeah, and then obviously, like, Joaquin Torres at the end of the film, he's okay, and Isaiah Bradley is freed, because obviously it was the leader. But, yeah, that's pretty much the movie. I really enjoyed it. I do think it could have had a few things that could have been done better. Like, I feel like if they hid it the whole time that the leader, if they hid it from everyone before this movie came out where the leader was the villain, then it would have made it more mysterious on who the actual villain was. Because I feel like a big part of why I like things like Winter Soldier was the mystery of who was behind it all. But we went into this movie knowing that it was the leader, so it takes away from that mystery.
Yeah.
And I feel like then maybe the movie could have been a bit longer to show things like how intelligent the leader is, or how deadly
there's stuff that was cut out of this, wasn't there?
Well, yeah, like this film went through multiple reshoots.
Yeah.
And you can kind of feel that with what I just mentioned there, how little you see the leader's true intelligence getting shown, and things like Sidewinder and the Serpent Society who had a much bigger role in this film, I'm pretty sure, and then that largely got cut out.
Yes, that's the thing that did feel cut out, you see, because with the setup I thought we were going to have for them, and Sidewinder was only in like literally a couple of scenes, so actually technically in a way too, the very intro of Captain America, and another scene later on, the fight scene, yeah, and maybe one more scene, but only then he just talks to him about who the leader is, and that's it.
So I feel like those three things would have helped make the film better. But I think overall I prefer it in the first Captain America film, but not as much as Civil War and Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
I feel like it could have been better if they did those things, but I still really like the leader. But I think my favourite parts were things like Isaiah Bradley, Ross's character arc, and Sam Wilson being Captain America.
So what would you rate this film then?
I think I'd rate it about an 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
I think it was pretty good, but I feel like they could have done better. But I feel like that might largely be because of the reshoots.
Interesting. I would rate it... I've got one lower than you. 7 out of 10.
Really?
Yeah, for all the reasons you said and a bit more, there was certain scenes, I just couldn't get my head around, and I don't know, do you feel like certain bits were, rushed? I don't know.
I do feel like maybe the bit at the end with the leader handing himself in was a bit rushed, because it was that at the same time that Ross was doing the press conference, the leader was handing himself in. So how could possibly the leader have told his entire story, and how could it have possibly gone all over the news had he only just handed himself in a few seconds ago?
Yeah, I know he's handed himself in so he can expose Ross, but even then I thought he'd be a bit more smart than that to sort of you don't want to go to prison just to get even with Ross.
Yeah, that also felt a bit weird, because the leader could have done it in so many other ways.
The guy's been imprisoned most of the time because of Ross. I don't think he wanted to go back to prison again.
I think it just kind of felt rushed, because the movie was like, well, we've got to put the leader in prison, but how do we do that? Oh, let's just have him handed in. It almost kind of feels like they wrote, in terms of the leader story, they wrote the ending first, and then they just kind of revolved everything else around that. Because it kind of feels like the leader handing himself in was a bit forced.
But we've seen it, and it was a
good film.
A good film. But obviously, at the end of the day, it's up to you and what you think of the film. All we can do is tell you what we thought. Then we thought, I thought it was okay.
Yeah, me too.
So if you've seen it, then please let us know in the comments what you thought of the film. And if you've got any questions to ask, then also leave them down in the comments, and we will get back to you as soon as we can. But do you want to add anything else?
No, I don't think so.
In that case, that is going to be it from me, Dewi, and my brother.
Oh!
I will catch you all in the next video. Bye-bye.
Ta-da!